Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As I enjoy my black coffee at the Naguru Skies Hotel, I hope you're ready for the show that's coming your way. The one show that makes your Wednesday night lit.
Lit.
Totally lit. Good to have you here. Now, tonight we are talking about men going wild. I'm not a wild man, but I know some men here who are. Gentlemen, we all know wild men. I know, they're not that we're going to, any of us is going to call
we all know wild men. Like the one who uses the word lit, I think is quite wild.
No, but I'll tell you what.
Been hanging out with young
Gaga is talking about Colin and Albert.
But you know what, guys, I think, and I stand to be corrected, being wild, and I put it in quotes, is a rite of passage for every man. At any one point in a male's life, whether you're a lion, whether you're a human being or an elephant, you will go wild. Okay, we see it with the young elephants when they reach puberty, they go wild. We see it with the lions when they reach that age of maturity, they go wild. We also see it with human beings. I just think maybe
Says Peter trying to explain away his wild days.
We all had them. We all had them. But I just think it's something you need to outgrow. Colin, and we're not going to talk about you. You're already looking worried about your wild days.
No, I'm not worried about my wild days. My wild days are behind me. I'm worried about you guys.
Who are still in
you guys who are people who are your age and are still going through their wild days.
Yeah, there are a lot of people my age who are still going through their wild days. Question: do you think, A, every man has to have their wild days? Number two, is it possible to outgrow it?
Yes, I think that does every man need his wild days? Yes. Why? Because we are not equal. Some of us learn by instruction. People tell you, if you do this, there are consequences. Some of us are not so smart. We learn by doing, by experiencing. So yes, some people have to have wild days. But I think that, so what does a period of liberty and expression and totally giving yourself out to wildness do for man, for young people? It allows you to experience the world. It allows you to really expend that energy that you have, that energy of youth. That's what those things do.
So it's okay.
I think it's okay, but because when you don't, and maybe Banjo will talk about this, you experience this social phenomenon called fixation. So you find women in their 40s going into clubs, and I'm not saying women in their 40s shouldn't go to clubs, but they are partying like 18-year-old girls. You find guys who are 50, trying to date 18-year-old girls because they missed the stage. So I think it's important. You must be able to go through what the required phase with the required amount of control. I think that there's a place to guide and sort of shape how you experience the world and new experiences. That's one. Also, two, if for parents who want to shelter children so much and keep them guarded, what you end up doing is you're hiding them from something that is inevitable. Eventually, the world and peer pressure and media and entertainment and TV is going to expose your child to all those things. Is there a way to safely expose them to the world out there? Yes, in a controlled manner that allows them to make informed decisions.
Sounds textbook.
It does, but that's how the textbooks are written. They're written by doing the right things. And then finally, your second question was, should it end? Your second question
is this something that you can outgrow?
Yeah, I think everyone must outgrow it. You must outgrow it because, as Chris is going to say, when I was a child, I did things as a child. And as a grown man now, I see things different. Because also, dude, like your body gets tired. Like you can't afford, I'm telling you, like now at my age, you can't afford 2 hangovers in a week. You can afford one. The moment you hit 2, 3, bro, like your body starts feeling funny, your knees start shaking, your toes wake up when they're throwing gang signs like that. Like you just can't.
All right, but I'll come back to you. But Banji, as Colin thinks about what I'm just about to say, I would like you to shed some light on it. There are certain things which I cannot afford to do when I'm 18, but I'll be able to afford to do them when I am 50. For example, I can be able to comfortably afford to travel the world when I'm 50. I could not do that when I was 18. Is it wrong for me now to go to Thailand? Okay, and I'm 50, all right, and I'm in Thailand. I'm there with my other 50-year-old friends, and we want to go and to a strip club, for example. Is there anything wrong with that?
That sounds like Peter's dream.
No.
He picked it out of his dreams. He just started.
Peter is part of something called the Blue Pill Gang.
But,
50-year-old guys.
But I think before you start roasting Pete, I think there is, as the world is growing, for instance, we are all saying, like now in Uganda, the highest, I think, you may correct me if I'm wrong, the highest foreign exchange earner now is tourism, I think, if I'm not wrong. And it's been so for years. And as tourism is growing, there is a phenomenon which is also growing, sex tourism, for instance, as part of men gone wild. Okay? Sex tourism, where some old guys just say, let us hit a particular country, and when they reach there, they explore on the young girls. Actually, there was a report about maybe 3-4 months ago, and Colin might refute this or might support it, where some men, I think in Kenya, were trying to make their wives available to tourists to earn $1.
That actually happened.
Yes, it happened.
It was on the BBC. And
Yes. So you can see and
why might they want to refute it or
no, because
you're the authority about regional affairs.
So you can see how things
on the wildness in the region.
Now back to your question. There is a stage where you must do everything as Colin said. But because of certain circumstances, you may not do this. For instance, you want to go clubbing, but you can't afford entrance to the club. So when you are 45, you suddenly get income. And now you can afford to go to club. You understand? So you'll go back, and you want to live that kind of experience. So it creates a dilemma. Probably you as you are growing up, you have your parents. Probably they are Christian, like Chris, and when you are at a
Christian.
Yeah, they are Christians. They are religious like Chris.
Religious?
Probably when
I don't know about that, but carry on.
Probably when you reach 35, they pass on.
Yes, they pass on. No, you leave the house.
It's the man's word.
They pass on, or you leave the house, or you become independent, and then you want to, release your wings. You want to fly. So you are going to do wild things. So
more than wild things.
Yes, and you see what is more can I call it? It becomes socially awkward for a man at a certain age to do things which he should have done before. You are 50, you are doing things you should have done when you were 18. You are 60, you are doing things you should have done when you are 35. I'll give you an example. Most of us, or most of the men, when you are between 25 and 30, probably you are searching, you will be expected to walk around with 1 or 2 ladies, because you are trying, to sell your vision out there.
And your mission.
But then, when you are 40 and you are walking with 2, then people will begin wondering, have you all of a sudden become a Haji? You see? So there are certain things you are supposed to do at particular stages, and there are certain things you are not supposed to do.
All right, great stuff. Oh, long time. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I have one simple question. Have you passed that point where you've done everything you need to do?
I'll give you one simple answer.
Yes.
No. Next question.
Okay. And I'll tell you where I'm coming from, because but Banji has alluded to something. So I think so far we all agree there are certain things as a man you have to have your wild side, okay? I mean, whether it's dating many girls or...
Dating many girls?
Banji has just said
why do we connect wildness with sexual...
No, I said dating. I did not say having sex.
Vitality.
Yes.
But they what you're looking for.
Because...
Like every time we talk about the wild...
Because when a man is 25, they are strongest sexually and physically. and you want to put that thing somewhere.
Says Peter from his experience.
But also, wait. But
No,
also,
we'll get back to you. We'll get
they
back to
make
you.
bad decisions on money. That's also wild.
Yes, we're coming to that. That's we talked about people going out and getting stone drunk, bad decisions on money, because when you're young, you have that feeling that I'll make more anyway. But you see, when you grow older, your actions have consequences. Because when you drink all your money,
everything you've said so far sounds like you just watched the movie Hangover
I
and you
know.
want to leave it
It's
out.
not as in my
Thailand, booze, sex.
no, but that's the reality.
That's not
That's the reality.
That's your
And if
reality.
all of you can be honest here.
You're out of touch with reality, Peter.
No, am I out of touch with
I
reality?
think we should ask Chris.
No, we're getting to Chris. Let's ask him. Am I out of touch with reality?
No, you're not. You're not out of touch. You want me to expound on that?
Yes, please.
Okay. The reason why you would have a wild side when you're young is because, you know, there's a saying, when you're young, you're stupid or you're foolish. It's acceptable to be foolish and when you're young. When you're older, if there's that, you call it stereotype or something like that. You're old. Come on, you can do better than that. You've gone through enough experiences, but come on, this world is a free world. The reason why it's so cagey in Africa is because a man is looked at like a god, like an alpha. You should not, don't step here, don't move, don't eat chicken. It's only for the man. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. It's so cagey in Africa. It's so Christian-like, you know. So everything is everything. Move here, don't do this, don't see. You keep just moving. You forget the glass has to fall down for you to realize that the floor is actually dirty. We can clean the floor. And you know, one experience can actually lead you to something else. You know, you may think that let me go to Thailand and have this wild life, and you go to Thailand and you meet this girl, you're chatting up, and it's another business venture that grows or something like that from that wild setting. It's actually said that. Do you know the reason why men who are reached 70 still go to the bar? Because that's where money is made. That's where money is made.
Do you think that a parent who's watching this show tonight and is just seeing this guy, so let's just assume you're this guy's parent, and he's just out here wasting the nation's time.
No.
It is his view. It is his view.
Look here. Yeah. Let me tell you something, Colin. You're speaking here. You're about I would say 40. I don't want to, but you're in your 30s. 20 years from now, there's something you're going to do that you should have done when you're 20 years. 20 years from now. And you know why you'll do it? It's not because I should have done it. No, it's because you want at that moment that your younger self, you still have that girl in you, you have that boy in you. It will never die out. So you're thinking, I'm wasting the nation. Say, hey, look here, you have that boy in you that one day, one time, will open up his zipper to just be like some guy who died recently.
Now, Chris, on your side, there's something which these gentlemen have alluded to. So we all have a wild side. Facts. It doesn't matter whether you are caged up. And there's certain things, as Banji mentioned, people start telling you, you're doing stuff that you ought to have done. Where were you when you were 18? All right. Does that mean now, as parents, there are certain things, liberties we should give our children to go out when they're 18? If they want to go to a bar and get drunk, let them do that. If they want to go and experience the world, okay.
How sex is what you want to
say. I mean,
let me help you
so that by the time they are done, we don't have any issues. Don't answer that question. We'll be right back to you as soon as we get back. Straight from the break. Now we're here at the Naguru Skies Hotel talking about men going wild. Are you one of those men who is still in that age where they're going wild? Well, you shouldn't go anywhere. But just make sure your wife is not watching. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. In case you just joined us, we are here at the Naguru Skies Hotel talking about men going wild.
Wild, Mr. P.
So, Chris, should we give our children liberty to go wild in their early days, do the things of children, and then when they grow older, they will do the things that adults do? Or should we still control them?
I have so much to say.
I know!
I have so much to say about this. So first of all, there's a proverb Solomon wrote, and he says, foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child, and the rod of correction drives it out.
R-O-D.
Rod, like the rod of correction, drives it out. And it may not necessarily be a physical rod, but sometimes the experiences that people go through in life teach them to live otherwise. There's two types of learners. There's people who want to get the rod on their butt, and the people who want to learn from having heard that someone got the rod on their butt. Okay?
Experience is the best teacher.
No.
Yeah, but evaluated experience actually is the better teacher. So there's people who are able to evaluate the experiences of others who've gone before them and learn from them. And because of the lessons that you learn from the generation that has come before you, there are certain mistakes that you then choose not to make. Right? I think that everyone has the potential to be wild, but not everyone decides to walk the wild path.
But sometimes it's not a choice.
No, Peter, it actually is. And I know I've grown up from my earlier days. There's been this debate. There's people who come from your school of thought which says everyone is wild at some point, and there's people who come from my school of thought who say everyone has capacity to be wild, but you can decide not to be.
And then at one point in your life you will be at the most inappropriate time.
Wait, I think it's
Peter,
degrees.
I'm saying what I'm saying because this is the truth that I know and I see. Okay, so it's possible for you to express yourself based on what you feel, and it's possible for you to, from evaluated experience, from other people's learnings, to sort of suppress your feelings and not necessarily go that way. For example, a couple of friends of mine and I, when we were growing up, we committed to chastity sexually. Okay? Now, it's not because our bodies were not working, it's not because there were no beautiful girls, it's not because of any of that, but there's lessons that we had learned from generations that had come before us, and we made commitment not to engage sexually. Not because we didn't feel it.
He's shaking his head.
It's okay. I'm telling you about my life, okay? Not because we didn't feel it, not because we didn't think that sex was enjoyable, but it's because we made certain decisions, but they were based on certain lessons. Let me give you my particular. There's a certain decade where in my family, my extended family, every year we were burying one or two cousins because of HIV/AIDS. Okay? Sometimes you bury the guy's wife, and then a few months later you're back at the burial site to bury him. I was rapid. It was real. Okay? So from lessons like that, you decide as a young person not to engage, not because the blood is not flowing, but because your evaluated experience is saying, I don't want to go that way. So what I want to sort of I want to broaden our definition of wild to say that yes, it's true that foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. In our youth, the potential to do wild things is there because there is foolishness bound up in the hearts of young people. But not every young person actually gives into that because of evaluated experience, because of sometimes lessons from the Word of God, which Albert alluded to and he described as cagey, but actually for a person like me and others, it's actually that you are learning from it and the Word of God informs your decision and your thinking. So, that's I said I wanted to say a couple of things, so please, that's one.
Wait. I'm
about to finish.
We are in the middle of everyone has, my mouth is feeling funny.
Yeah, I know. Mine has been feeling funny for the whole of the first one. So listen.
So we give you the second one.
This is like being in Uganda.
So when we were growing up, actually, it said that there's 3 resources that people have. Young men, young women. No, all people. Time, money, energy. When you are young, you have lots of time, you have lots of energy, no money. Okay, so you do things because with the resources you have, time and energy. When you are in the middle age, you're working, you have money, you have energy, but no time. Okay? And then when you grow older, you have the money, you have the time and no energy. Those are limitations that you find people need to work with.
Yeah.
Even as you navigate these wild waters. But to answer the question you asked me directly on whether I would free up space for my children to be wild, I learned this from my mom as she raised us. She gave us the liberty to make decisions for ourselves. She always said to us, there are options in life. Life will throw you this challenge. You can decide this, that, the other. I think this is the right decision. And she kept on pointing to what she thought was right. And she kept on telling us, I trust you to make the right decision. So what happens is that you sort of have liberty to decide, right? But you also know what is the best option. And I think that that's the best way to raise children, because if you tighten it so much, then they rebel against the status quo.
Colin. The man,
I don't even know what we're doing anymore. Like, do you know how many circles I've drawn on this table? I was waiting for. I was waiting. No someone in chat this week. You know what? The guy just gave me
the whole first segment. I was doing my own circles, man.
Before Colin comes in.
Wait. What is Peter? How are you the host of this show?
There are 3 things that Chris has mentioned. That when we are young, we have, to be wild, you need time, you need energy, and you need resources. Money, preferably money. Now, you
don't really need money.
You need some money, my friend. You will not be
wild. You can operate on other people's budgets.
Yes, but
they have budget. They have to be some budget.
That's a common factor.
Wild on a budget.
That's a good one. Limited.
Now, Chris, you realize that for men, maybe from around your mid-30s, you begin to have control over resources. The resources begin to flow in. Because all your efforts between 20 and 35 is beginning to yield. Your passion fruits are beginning to yield. So now, as more resources come in, then you begin saying, but this is a possibility, this is also a possibility. And even if you don't have time and energy, this man of yours can give you the motivation, to go wild.
You call it Team Blue Pill.
The Blue Pill Gang. The Blue Pill Gang.
So sometimes and some people who do financial advising have said that for us the weakness we have in Africa is that when we get money, instead of investing it, we go wild with the money. Okay, so we do crazy things with the money instead of investing it so that it continues multiplying. So sometimes this sudden pouring of resource also can make you go wild.
I want to. So you. I don't know how many of you guys grew up in boarding school, but in boarding school there's something we used to call economic temper. Economic temper was the week after visitation. Then you would go to the canteen.
Cause inflation.
Ono bamwembao, nono bamwemuogo, nono bamwembao. Bao is cassava.
Yes.
This what Band is talking about.
You go wild.
But you know what causes this? It's the adversity, the lack of, and it's what we call rural-urban excitement. So you raise your children in such a sheltered environment that no one. No, I don't know. It's not.
But I know you're trying to get to me, but you're not going to start.
No, I think that, by the way, even for young Christian youth, there's going wild. It's like worshipping until you're mapping out there, you sweat. You're like, it's supposed to be a quiet night of prayer. You're out there in tongues at 3 a.m. Like, that's just like, you know, wild and dangerous. When you grow older and you become calmer, you learn how to, you know, pray. You know when it's intense intercession and fellowshipping with the Lord. You know, so even for those guys, I'm sure there's a degree of letting loose in the spirit. Anyway, I was distracted. I was saying the economic temper is caused by not having, such that when you get what we now call rural-urban excitement, it's just the same thing. It's the same phenomenon we see with guys who have been poor, guys who had no shoes. Now they get some money, they come into government, they get a pair of shoes, they buy a trouser, they become an MP, and then we see that whole people going wild. Like we have to understand that the lack it's caused by a situation where you didn't have, and now you have, and you forget. Because when people don't have money, they're very economical. They know how to plan, they know what the sugar, they know everyone's problems. Then they go into leadership. Then they forget. They're like, no. Those are not, like Albert, those are not problems. Children must be let free. In fact, let me take my children to California.
So Colin, you are bringing something, and I hope I don't use a complicated word. What we are calling kind of delayed gratification. Because at one stage, your mind wants you to do something, but you can't do it. Because either you are in the rural place where it is not possible, or you don't have the resource to do it. So once you have the means, now either you are in an urban area, or now even if you are in your village, you have the means to do it, then you are going to do it. But also,
Banji, first
just a minute maybe.
Okay.
But also we have especially men, we have some competitive spirit. You know that. Competitiveness. You are like, well, if Albert did this, and everyone in that group is saying, Albert, what can I do also to, yes, to keep up with him, or to get more ratings from my peers than what he has done. So you also think of some other wild things to do.
But why? So continue to answer. But why is peer approval important? Why is it important for me to get the same? Why is it important?
Because then it validates you, okay? It validates you and gives you position in that peer, in that group where you are. Otherwise, you are being left behind.
Every man seeks validation.
Yes. Let me point on something that you mentioned, and I totally do not agree. You see, not that the parts that are good, that are clean, but some parts are just. You see, a man. You meet a man at 20 years, you put a beautiful lady in front of him. He's spiked. 30 years, spiked. 50 years, spiked. 8 years, he's spiked. You see, sometimes it's just the nature in a man. And there's that thing, if you put me in Thailand and you told me, hey, there's a strip club there. Hey, come on, I'm 80 years. Why not? I can just go sit there even if nothing is functional. Hey, at least eyes are functional. At 50 years, same thing. 20 years. So if you might have, you see, you might have the energy at 20 years, and you may not actually do anything. But there's that. So what I'm saying is, sometimes it's not about you trying to that rural urban migration stuff, rural urban excite. No, sometimes it's just the nature of a man.
So Albert, the challenge with what you've said. Have you been to Thailand before?
Yes, I have.
And you went to the strip club?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So that's my point.
No, what I've said. No.
Wait. That's exactly my point.
Witness.
And listen. No. Peter, here's the point. He didn't go. I was in Thailand and I didn't go to a strip club. They were all over the place.
But
no,
you
didn't go.
No,
but this is my point. This is my point. This is my point. I think that sometimes we can sit here on TV and put across particular arguments, you know, sort of posturing for certain positions that may not necessarily be real on the ground, or listen,
I gave you a scenario, come on,
or things that may be generalizations. Because
no, Chris,
are you trying to tell me there are no men?
are not the majority.
Peter, no, that is in fact the majority. The majority. Look, the majority actually. If you put all of us as we are here,
No.
Okay. Let's take it.
No, you talk about.
Okay, no.
We're right here.
No, these guys have families, man.
Let's get so because they have families, they're not going to be real.
Look. You get the majority of men. Give them that scenario. You tell them there's a strip club there. What will you do? Tell me how many girls just say, man.
So how come you didn't go?
That's what I chose not to.
Thank
but
you.
That I'm different.
I don't think his story is genuine, but
yes,
I think he went. But I'll tell you what.
So the problem with him admitting that when you also have to explain to his 3 girlfriends.
Yeah, exactly. But you see, Chris, the reality is, and it's something we cannot shy away from. One of the things we do on this show is we talk about the things that ordinarily a lot of people don't want to talk about.
That's why I'm bringing this up.
But
that is one of the things we
ordinarily
talk about.
the tea is cold.
There is something. You know, sometimes we think that it is only children and teenagers who rebel. But adult men also rebel.
I agree with you 100%. And we are going to get back to you as soon as we get back from the break. Now, we're here at the Naguru Skies Hotel talking about men going wild. When we come back, we have to be honest with ourselves and ask ourselves, why do men go wild? We'll be right back after the break. From the break, please just join us. We are here talking about men going wild. Unfortunately, on the set, we have some men going wild. Chris, before we continue, don't forget, we want to engage with you. Let's have a live conversation on Twitter. The hashtag is NTV MEN. Or you can get us on Facebook, and our page is NTV MEN.
I was saying something.
Yes.
For the break.
Obviously, this show. Anyway, go.
Okay. Now, I was saying that sometimes going wild is kind of rebellion. For us, we are used to seeing children rebelling or teenagers rebelling. But sometimes the pressures of life also make adults rebel.
Need to blow off steam.
Yes. So you want to go wild so that you can't. You want to lose yourself. I call it losing yourself. You lose yourself so that you can rediscover your position.
You're young.
You know, the Chinese say if you lose direction, you go where you started. So even in your adulthood, sometimes when you find that you have lost direction, some people can go wild just to go back to where they started, so that they can start repositioning themselves. So either it could be a rebellion against either your children, they are putting too much pressure on you. You are 75, then you start going wild selling land because they are saying that when are you dying and we inherit land? You say, okay, why don't I sell my land and eat it when I'm still alive? So you just start selling. That is going wild. Or maybe madam at home is putting you on pressure, so you start sitting in the bar. You are 45, you start sitting in the bar and coming back at 3 a.m. when she has slept. So sometimes it might be a reaction.
I think that that's true, but it's also, you also see this behavior in men who experience what we classically call midlife crisis. So you find a guy, you know, he's been calm his whole life. At 50, gives everything up, sells his house, gets on a camper, goes on the road, you know, quits his job. But also, I mean, you see this behavior in people who also deal with it through retail therapy. You know, that people who, when they're upset, they are not happy until they bought a new pair of shoes. But that's for people who have the money. And that's the guy who has a career at 50. My friend, if you're still going wild by that time, you don't have a career to give up.
No, but you see, one of the things I picked from what Banji is saying, and it alludes to what you also said, there has to be a catalyst to going wild. Whether you're 18 or whether you're 55. There is a catalyst. There's something that makes you do it. It could be validation from your peers. All your life you've not had validation, and all of a sudden you see this opportunity to be that guy who's heralded. Could be for the wrong reason. You're that guy who can go home at 7 in the morning and your friends are saying, dude, how do you do that? Doesn't your wife kill you? And you're like, no, I've got her where I need, regardless of what happens at home. But you get that validation. When you're 18, it's everybody wanted to be what do you call the cool guy, the guy who could, you know, party across town, okay, and get away with it. So there has to be a catalyst to it.
And I think, Peter, that exactly is the reason why I think that men need to have a board of some sort. Because we are, I think it's Colin who keeps on saying that we are social creatures, and we're creatures of habit, right? So as men, you are the average of the 5 guys around you.
Correct.
Right? It's just rule of thumb. If you just check out the 5 guys around me, and I'm saying that I behave this way, and all of them are behaving the other way, I'm lying. Okay? Birds of a feather flock together. And so I think that one of the things that we need to do as men, at any level, is to sort of, and we don't do this sort of when we're younger. Friends happen upon us, you know, like the guys who are around, the guys who happen to be in your class. Like, you know, you sort of are conditioned because of, you know, you're using the best of what you have. But as you grow older, you start to have more opportunity to select the types of friends that you have, the types of people who can speak into your life, the types of men who can question your decisions and your direction in life. And I think that we all need to choose a board, our own board, to say, if say, Peter, if we were the 4 friends in your life, to say, you guys have the permission to ask me tough questions, right? To ask me about my investments, about whether I'm saving or not, about whether I have some, you know, I take my wife out at least once a week, or if those things matter to that group, right? So what happens is that, because eventually we need to start thinking about how can we live with liberty, but yet have some wisdom coming through from others to help us see our blind spots. Because all of us have the back of our heads, but most of us have never seen the back of our heads with our naked eye. Because you can't. We all have a blind spot. So when you say most, you mean there are some... Like all of us.
I don't know.
The
Peter could.
All right? But the thing is that we all have a blind spot. Right? And so you need a couple of honest friends who are going to tell you, okay, look, wild within the margin. Because sometimes, you know, you've really wanted to buy, I mean, like me, the day I make money enough to buy a brand new Range Rover.
You've said this on national TV.
I am saying it.
As a pastor.
Look, listen to what I've said. That day, I am a pastor. You think pastors don't like good things? Hey, listen. That day, listen to what I've said. That day I make money. Listen, I make money enough. Because I am an honest man and I work. All right? I work for my living. So that day I make money enough to be able to buy that Range Rover. I want to buy it brand new. Now, that is wild for me. I mean, because really, it's like I'm sitting in a house. I'm moving house. You know, that's the truth. But the thing is that if I then go on rampage and I buy 6 or 7 Range Rovers, a red one, a blue one, a yellow one, a white one, a silver one, I mean, you know, by the time I get to that point, I don't have friends. I don't have someone who tells me.
Will you listen to them?
You know, that's the point. So that's why we need to choose our board early, to have people who are able to tell you when you're being fake, right? Your wife calls you, your workers call you, your employee, or your employer calls you, whatever, and you're going wild. Guys are going to, you know, when you're blasting everyone, they're going to come and remove pressure from your tire and say you're going nowhere. Shut up, listen to us. Every man needs men like that in their lives to help us keep in check.
Yeah.
So that, well, there's liberty, but with some reason.
Albert.
Yeah, but you see also, whereas that is very, very possible, sometimes if this board of advisors are your friends, sometimes they will not handle the issue with the seriousness that it deserves.
Because again, they are your peers.
They feel probably in your wildness they are also benefiting. Because if you bought 7 Range Rovers, then I'm sure I can come and borrow one. Okay? So I will tell you with a little bit. But the point you have raised is very, very important. That as friends or as people, we should have persons, individuals, 1, 2, 3, that sometimes can be able to, you know, to check the temperatures of how we are behaving. Somewhere, sometime, you have a friend and you are like, the speed at which you are moving is too much. Okay? And in this era, you may not live up to your 40. So reduce on the alcohol. These are the dangers. And sometimes a person listens. Okay? And sometimes when you are hard on them, they may not call you for a week. Then after they will say, but why were you saying this? Why were you concerned? It is me who is drinking the alcohol. What is your problem? Then you explain. So sometimes these advisors, I'm going to use a rough word, might be weaklings. You know, they don't want to put their foot. They don't want to stamp their foot. So if you choose to be an advisor to someone, then you must do it with all the strength.
So I think that, and we always struggle with this where Chris is concerned, because, you know, Chris has a different set of friends and the rest of us live by different rules. So the whole idea and the theory of working on a board and having a personal, it means there have to be people you respect. It's a board of peers, a council of friends. Anyone who's been your friend for 5, 10 years, they know where the skeletons are buried. They know that time when your phone was off for 2 days.
Where you are.
They know where you are. Those guys, it's hard to stamp your foot, because every time they say, dude, we're not doing this, come back and say, but I covered for you that time. That's the thing, the culpabilities, and yes, we try to live above reproach, but we're not perfect. So what happens is you're either lying to Peter, and what you've done is over 5, 10 years you've shown him the perfect side, so Peter feels like you're flawless. But then in that case, he will never respect you, because he'll always feel like you're like Chris. You're living a life that he can never emulate, because again, you're not
but
being
Colin, how
real
about
with
if,
him.
this is still your submission, but my question is, how about if your friends are able to see that you're constantly becoming an improvement of yourself?
Actually, that's very few times.
What we're going to do is this.
What are we going to do?
We're out of
Why don't
time.
you just go and
We're
jump
out
off
of
the
time.
Peter?
No, it's too high. I'll break my leg. So I'm going to have to ask you to make that your final submission.
No problem.
Your
No
parting
problem.
shot.
I'll first clear say is like, the reason why I kept quiet was I totally disagree with some of these things these church guys are saying. But I totally disagree. A board, I'm a person who, as you said, evaluated experience is a better teacher. I prefer having the best teacher. Best teacher teaches you the best way. Better is still under the rug. I will not explain why I disagree, because we are running out of time. What will I say? The reason why men go wild, because we have that instinct in us. You're going to say money, what? All those are catalysts to the instinct within us. All those things, the money, the ladies, the energy, all those are just catalysts. Within you, there's a child. Within you, there's a girl. Within you, there's that beat and there's that. But you've seen the reason why men, you find that when you're looking at nude pictures, that leak. When you look at nude pictures, you're seeing an old man with a young girl. You're seeing an aged man with a young girl. You look at the street people who are being, old men are being on the street. So what am I trying to say? Man, we have that thing in us. Everyone is different. We're all born in different ways. People, one will say, let's have a board. Tell you, having a board of crooks. There's a lot of disagreement here, and I think I'll just take a glass of water.
What? Peter, I spilled tea.
Let me first abuse this small man here. This crazy neighbor of mine. He has a point. By nature, every human being is a wild being. However, as Chris has labored to explain, the social values okay, the society in which we live shapes our behavior. But sometimes really we still go the opposite way. And in sociology we call it the social deviance. You want to do things that others are not doing, or that others fear to do. Okay, you are deviating from the norm. Okay, so it is there. It's the human weakness. It happens. Okay. However, sometimes a man going wild is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, that's my parting shot. It is not necessarily a bad thing. It might be a remedy or a solution to some social pressures that the man is going through. Okay. However, if you are a friend to someone and you realize that the person is really going wild, there are three things you can do. One, please offer him personal help on a friendship basis. Okay, if he's your friend. If that fails, then offer him professional help. Okay, and the third one is offer him occupational help, because sometimes people go wild and the work they are doing, they are actually dismantling it. You have a job, but you are just becoming absent without a reason. It's also being wild.
All right.
Yes.
Colin, your parting shot.
I'm fed up. I'm fed up, Peter. I'm fed up.
I can't do this anymore.
I cannot. So, I think that we have to agree that if you're an adult, you're an adult. The decisions you make will have impact on yourself and those around you. There can the space for impetuous, adjunct, random decisions, I think, leaves you, because sort of this whole month we've been talking about calculation and being deliberate and men providing leadership in families. I think that you don't have that much space. Yeah. The downside of that, of course, is that you have higher suicide rates in men, because you don't have a council of peers, so you feel like the world is all on your shoulders, you hang yourself or whatever. I think that sometimes it helps to learn from the women. People think women just like gossiping, but it's not always gossiping. It's keeping in touch. It's saying, hey, how are you handling this? How are your kids? That social connection, that social cohesion. And even though it's not as serious as Chris's board, it doesn't have to be up there. But I think that the social cohesion, the idea, the sense of community, creates some sort of mutual accountability and respect, but also creates that communal sense of shame. How would my friends see me running around with a 20-year-old? And that may be what you need, without necessarily elevating it to the level where people are coming into your house. Again, coming into your house and asking, why are you spending your money like this? Because, again, we know that people are getting more selfish, more individualistic. So maybe there may not be space for that. But I think that there's a space for men to find friends and people you can talk to and gossip a little bit. Because that's also healthy. Keeps your heart alive.
Chris, we saved the best for last.
Well, I hope
Albert
it is.
made me spit my tea.
So I would want to say, one, that ask the question, do men go wild? Yes, they do. Do some men control that wildness? Yes, they do. How do you face the reality of potential to be wild and not necessarily go wild, because it can be detrimental to your health, to your family, to your kids, and etc. I really think that, just like the Bible puts it, it's not good for man to be alone. Men don't do alone well. All right? And so one of the things that I know is very helpful is to have friends and people who can give you real solid advice. Again, the writer says that a multitude, there is safety in a multitude of advice, or a multitude of counselors, right? So when we surround ourselves with people who can look us straight in the face and tell us where we're going right and celebrate us when we're going wrong, and have some accountability system around us that will help us not to veer off and drive our lives off the rails. And I think that's probably the best solution to not going wild. Because the truth is that potential is there for every man. Not everyone does go wild.
So there it is. You've heard it from the men tonight. We've been talking about men going wild. If you're a man out there, you all have the potential to go wild. Just keep it. Save yourself till you are ready to do the right thing.
We must stand together.